And he's just stuck in Quell's like, play devil's advocate. I think that's a great way to start the pod.
Yeah, my phone's blowing up. Me and you sit here debating.
What is up, everybody? It is the Philly Blitz Pod 103. Makes it easy for you. The third one, powered by 14th and Market. Today, the focus is on the third OTA practice, takeaways from that, and we finally got Uncle Vic in the building. We finally got to talk to him a little bit.
Big Zen. Big Zen.
Big Zen, dude. It's been a while since we've discussed him because if it's the offseason, all he cares about is the next season and the damn Phillies. So it's time to talk about Vic a little bit and talk about OTAs. So let's get into it. How are you boys doing today?
Doing good, man. I always love hearing from Vic because I really think he's probably like the most honest coach or coordinator that we've 100%. Had with the Eagles in a long time.
He doesn't have time for all the stuff. My bad, Quell. Yeah, he doesn't have time to lie to you. He's just gonna be like, yeah, this is what's going on, and I'm gonna go back to scheming up stuff to make sure we do a Gatorade bath with 3 minutes left in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm gonna make your life a living hell. That's all I can say about that.
That's all I want.
Somebody pass me a beer and a Zen.
Exactly. Big Zen, baby. Let's go. Well, how you doing, bro?
Well, we love a dub to those who celebrate. It is Ada, one and only Mark Wilford Owens. And kind of in the same light, man. Just excited to talk about some Eagles football, man. Excited to be another day closer to the season. We sitting here talking about Saquon Barkley on the cover of Madden and if he will or will not be cursed. Shout out to Pierre.
We are not. Yeah. I am not buying stock in it.
All right, let's start it there. Well, finish your intro and we can start there and then we can get into our actual itinerary.
That's the intro there, man. Shout out to Pierre, who's tell him a man of God. We believe in nothing.
Believe in Jesus Christ.
He goes to church every Sunday and he believes in no Madden curse. So, I mean, we had it in our group chat and we'd love to hear back, from the people. Let us know what you're thinking. But, brother, Madden curse is real, dude. And Pierre's sitting here. And the thing is I'm 100% certain that if we were talking about Jahmyr Gibbs, if we were talking about, like a Jared Verse or anybody else on the cover of Madden, you'd be like, oh, yeah, bro, Madden curse? Yeah, bro, he's cooked. Well, we in the group chat.
Hey, man, different strokes for different folks, brother.
Pierre says the Eagles are bathed in the blood of Christ. They are good. There is no type of Madden curse that can affect our Philadelphia Eagles. So,
Madden curse.
Philadelphia Eagles. The Madden curse.
That doesn't work for me, brother.
No, it doesn't work. You're on Pierre's side now, quote.
Nah, that was just a Pierre quote.
Okay. Listen, all I'm hoping is like the Madden curse means, he only rushed for 1,500 yards and 700 yards receiving. Oh man, it sucks so bad. That's my ideal version of Madden curse. But how are you guys feeling with Saquon on the cover? And also, I want to say, shout out to, it's kind of messed up that I'm not remembering his name, but FSU DB, the one who got hurdled backwards.
Jerry and Jones.
Shout out to him for at least, showing up to get hurdled over. I can respect that.
At least they blurred the Jaguar off the helmet.
You know what? I talked to my cousin, the other in-house Jaguars fan next to JP, and he was like, "Nah, they should have put us on there. I want to be on the cover of Madden."
They shouldn't have logo. They shouldn't have taken the logo off the helmet, man. Keep the realism.
Cowardice. Yeah. But how are you guys feeling? How you guys feel about Saquon being on the cover?
So to start off, number one reason why I don't believe in the curse, right? As any other player who was quote unquote cursed, like I told y'all in the chat, did they have the offensive line that the Eagles have? Did they have Jalen Hurts as their quarterback? Did they have AJ Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert as their offensive personnel? No, I'm not buying it. But nah, Saquon on the cover, man. It's dope to me because I know when Donovan was on the cover, that was what 06?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like this is kind of the first time like I've seen an Eagles player on a cover that I can kind of remember. So it's real dope seeing them on there.
Yeah, man. That's kind of like the best way to put it. I mean, I remember when Donovan was on the cover, sadly enough. I mean, God forbid anything of this nature ever happened. But that's when I realized that they weren't joking about that Madden curse. We coming off a Super Bowl appearance. We sitting there, Donovan McNabb on the cover of Madden, looking sweet. And then Albert Hainsworth pushes him over on the sideline, and he has no ACL anymore. And I'm sitting here like, my goodness, man, what are we doing?
What just happened?
Yeah, basically. And I mean, what can you say? It was a lot of that from there on, just trying to keep him healthy. Shout out to Jeff Garcia and his work down the line. But just seeing Saquon Barkley on the cover as a whole, as a fan, is fun. Especially them being able to capture the moment. Pause for a second. Did y'all see the video of him redoing it? How he paused in the air?
Did he have
they
he had
had
on a harness, right?
They had harnesses.
Oh,
I was shocked. I was like, bro,
I was
how
about to
did
say,
he do
ain't
that?
no way.
And then they showed the other angle and he had harnesses on. But I was in shock. I was a little mad I had to see the harnesses because I would have loved to just live.
I'm glad that I didn't. I'm kind of mad that you guys told me. I would have.
Sorry, man. Yeah, I felt bad telling you because I was like, damn, they had harnesses on them because it looked real. It looked real.
It's like it's one of those things, that type of move, a backwards hurdle, that seems like that's only something that can happen in live game action.
Dude, I mean, but the thing is they had to add it into the live game because they didn't have it possible in the live game. Like that's crazy. You did something that's not even a video game thing to do. So I mean, like y'all said, man. I mean, Quell, did you have anything else to say about that?
It was
before you go, Parth, I haven't heard the name Albert Hainsworth in a long time.
Seriously, that's a deep cut,
buddy. Yeah. You must not live in Washington D.C. That name comes up like 1 in every 5 conversation. Because you remember we paid that man $100 million for him to come here and do nothing. Like, so yeah, I remember.
Dude, $100 million at that time too is nuts. Holy shit!
But is he there, Nnamdi Asomugha?
Yeah. Yes, he is.
That makes sense.
Yes, he is. Actually.
Yeah, that makes sense why he comes up.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. They had we're spoiled enough to have only we can remember the Nnamdis and the Byron Maxwells because there's only a select few. They've had so many. It was a running joke at a time where it was like, man, there was a retirement home here. People came here, got paid, and was a shell of themselves.
So it was like the Sixers.
Yeah. So.
Oh man. I don't even know why I made that. That one hurt me more than it hurt anybody else. That
made me depressed, brother.
Yeah, my bad. Let's talk. Well, okay. So the next 2 topics are not super. They're not going to rejuvenate you either. But Pierre
doesn't rejuvenate you.
Well, that's going to be. Oh, okay. We're starting there. Never mind. Okay, let's start there. So we're starting at Big Zin's press conference. Like Pierre said, it's just great because you get honesty. And I think he gave what we expected from that press conference. It was funny because I was listening to the Philly special and she was just talking about listening to the press conference, and it's funny because it sounds like that. And EJ Smith, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had to coach EJ Shelby. That's why I have to like pause in my head and make sure I'm saying the right one. But shout out EJ Shelby, man. But anyways, he was talking about being at the presser, and he was like, dude, it was a feisty one. It was a feisty one. Vic even made a comment about like the guys needing to like fight or something about getting the first question out, because classic Philly media, everyone's talking over each other. So point being, everybody
when they do that, like I've always wondered, like, how do you win? Do you just keep talking until the other one shuts up?
The thing is I would have been so good at that because it doesn't matter. Like I don't care about the filter, and I'll just get louder, and I can get loud. I can get loud. Like I'll just talk over you. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what you have to do. You listen. And I mean, the thing is anybody who listens to the press conference can hear it too. You can hear it every time they're talking. There's like 6 heads talking, and whoever's the loudest and talks the longest, like you said, Pierre, ends up getting the question. And then they usually have to repeat the question because you didn't get the entire first part of the question. So I can't imagine being, one of the guys who's getting interviewed because it's probably just hell trying to figure out who to answer.
Man, look, people got mouths to feed.
Dude,
Vic, how was the dinner last night?
They're starving. They're starving out there. They said, give me the question, bro. Don't give it to anybody else. But
you know what's the worst? When they're like a 2-part question here.
And then it's
they do that when they know the ball not coming back. He know he not getting the.
I'm getting the next one too, bozo. Whether you like it or not. No, but it was a good press conference, right? We heard about a lot of the players that we've had questions about. We heard about how he's approaching the season. Some things that I want to bring up of note as you guys kind of get into it is that very Philly Blitz Pod geared gave a big shout out to Keely Ringo about players that he kind of needs to step up this year in terms of some of the younger players. So that's really good. And EJ Smith also mentioned that Keely got most of the snaps. And so it's OTAs, and so you always take that with a grain of salt. But with Adoree Jackson there as well, and him getting some of the snaps earlier in OTAs, to see Keely starting to take over more of the reps is exciting to see. And then he talked about Sidney Brown a little bit, and he spoke to the things that we've said about Sidney Brown as well. But Sidney Brown also got reps, and in terms of the OTA practice, the most recent OTA practice, Sidney Brown was a starter with Reed Blankenship. But Makuba, Tristan McCollum, and Andre Sam got reps as well. Also wanted to note that Tristan McCollum got a shout out in
the by name too.
Tristan,
by name.
He made sure he mentioned that. Yeah. I mean, this is a competition that can take all training camp, 2 preseason games. Tristan's also in this conversation. Like, don't y'all forget, Tristan did.
Seems like a Vic guy. And the thing about Vic, and I'll let you guys get into this a little bit, but we talked about how honest his press conferences are. Who his guys are. Jalix Hunt, one of his guys. Jihaad Campbell, one of his guys. Keely Ringo, one of his guys. And then who did we just say? Why am I blanking on his name now?
Nolan Smith.
Nolan Smith, one of his guys. But who did we just say? Tristan McCollum. Tristan McCollum. Cooper is definitely one of his guys, but Tristan McCollum as well, because he'll go out of his way to just kind of mention them in a very offhand way. So it's just kind of cool to see the psychology of the guy. But I'll let you guys get into it. Like, what do you
beyond that? Before we get into it, Parth, just to touch on what you said, even beyond that, man, because I took note of that when I was watching too. It was fun to write that down. Where I said last pod, maybe I'm just starving for the content and looking for something to take from this, but I feel like it's a lot of good stuff you could take from what a lot of these guys say, except when they try to give you the coach fluff, especially when Vic talks, man. And Vic, what I noticed when Vic talks, when he wants you to know how he feels about the guy, just listen to the terminology he used. Like, I believe he was asked about, it may have been Sidney Brown, but he was like, oh, he's been doing fine. He's fine. And then where you listen to him and you talk about Jalix Hunt and the step that he could take, he's like, oh, he's been doing great for us. He's been doing good. He said you listen to him talk about Jordan Davis. This was the one that stood out to me. You listen to him talk about Jordan Davis when he said, yeah, I expect him to have a very good year for us. I'm like, oh, he has high expectations for JD this year.
Actually, I want to pause there for a second, because I was going to bring up Jordan Davis as well, because you could look at that press conference both ways, right? Because and that's how we saw it in the chat as well. As we were live texting the press conference, kind of talking about what's going on. And I wanted to bring up this conversation piece because I said it. Look, I didn't love the pick when it happened, but this year I said, like, I'm with Jordan Davis. Like I'm betting on him having a big year. I think if they have that, the contract extension and all that kind of stuff. But Vic's comments about it all were just a little bit interesting. When he was asked about the extension, he said, that's not really what I do. That was like a decision above me and that type of thing. But then he also goes and talks about how Jordan looked good through the last couple games. Sheil made a good point on the Philly special, talking about snap count in those games as well, which I thought was a good counter, because I was sitting here the whole week before I listened to the pod, like, oh, like cool, like he liked it because the thing is Jordan didn't have a ton of snaps, but he flashed in some of the snaps that he had, right? So I think both things can be true there, and that's the counter that I would have had if I was on the pod. But it's just interesting because he goes from talking about how he's doing well, you know, he's had a good offseason, had a good end to the last season, but then he also talks about, like, you know, they ask, well, why did it take so long? And he's like, well, I'm not going to get into that. And gives like a classic, you know, coach mysterious answer. So I wanted to know what you guys thought about that. I think he's going to have a good season. I don't know if we're going to see a huge uptick in snap. I think we'll continue to see flashes. I think he's going to have to take some more of the snaps just because there's more snaps on the D line to take. But I think we'll see like a decent Jordan Davis year, but it's just interesting to see, you know, how Vic was on both sides of it. So I want to know what you guys think.
The way I interpreted it when he was like, I'm not gonna get into that. Like I texted the chat, that was Vic. To me, that was Vic basically calling JD fat. He was basically like, "Hey, brother, lay off the sweets." that's what I took from it.
I mean, he was talking about it. Sorry, I was gonna say real quick. He was talking about how last offseason, they talked about how this has been like a story for the last couple of seasons, right? Last offseason, this was a good pull. He was like, you know, Jordan gave up the Arizona for the mango drink at Whole Foods. Mangoes are sugary fruit, brother. And apparently Shields' wife went and did the research at Whole Foods, and it had like 26 grams of sugar in the drink as well. And Pierre, being a real juice drinker, he could tell you, man, those are some sugary drinks, bro. So it's just, I mean, I'll let you go, but it's just funny, man. And listen, JD, I relate, bro. I love myself some Domino's. So I can't, as much as I hate, bro, I can't as much. It probably comes from
the Eagles are just as much at fault, bro. Like, you got to help him help himself. Like, every single year when they do the little rookie cooking competitions, why is Jordan Davis
no.
Like, you literally got to stop these things. The first year when there was all the Georgia guys, like, it was cool. Let him go. But like,
why is there a common denominator here? I'm crying.
He walk in the room every time like, okay, let's go, guys.
Hey, listen, not to stereotype, but what if he's the best cook? You know, sometimes the big guys are the best cooks, bro. Like, listen, as a fat kid myself, there's a reason I can cook. It's because I know what tastes good. So in the Eagles' defense, bro, if I'm having someone teach the rookies how to cook, I'm choosing the big guy, bro, because obviously he knows what's good.
Well, no, just to get back to the on the field conversation. Jordan, he's
had the worst off the field conversations, bro. It's not derogatory. I mean, maybe that was a little bit derogatory, but it's not malintent. It's just like the realities of off the field. Like, you know what? I'm Team Eagles there, and I'm Team Jordan Davis there, bro, because I know he seasons his food, bro, and that's what matters. Quell, Pierre, you both have my cooking. The former fat kid in me was talking. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was speaking. All right, that's all I want to say on the pod. I just want people to know I can cook. Anyways.
Okay. Just on Jordan, like I said, he's heading into the final year of his rookie deal. They did exercise his team option. Also, the graphic with the little exercise in the back.
But, you think they knew what they were doing?
Yeah, that was 100%.
It had to. There's no way they didn't.
What other have they in recent years when they've exercised team options? Have they ever done that before?
I don't know. Have they? That's what I was trying to think back to. Maybe we gotta do some research. We'll do some research and report back. But that was a little too convenient. Oh, I agree.
But yeah, man, I tend to agree with you, Parth. Like in the last 7 to 8 games, like Vic said, the dude did flash. He flashed a lot as a pass rusher, which has been something that, you know, a lot of Eagles fans they've harped on. But, you know, as me and Quell have kind of, you know, pushed back, that isn't necessarily his role. It would be nice to see him develop it more, of course. And like you said, with more snaps this year, which he's going to have to take on, it's going to be expected that he does develop that. But, you know, so like Vic said, you know, he's in the best shape he's ever been in. I don't remember which reporter it was, but Jordan's been on the Peloton. He's been, you know, exercising and everything like that. So
he fell in love with the Peloton.
Yeah, I'm expecting a big year from Jordan, man. Big year.
So I'll answer this first, and it kind of lead into my next question for you guys. But to reiterate what you guys are saying, I've always been high on Jordan Davis. I've always understood exactly what his job entailed. I did understand that based on where he was selected, there will always be criticism based on the production or lack thereof and things of
Right.
that nature. Rightfully so. He has to continue to show growth. That's the big thing when you talk about these type of defensive tackles as it comes out of draft season. Great run defender, has shown flashes and ability to be able to develop into a pass
Every
rusher.
time.
Well,
Every time is right there. The second
can
line.
it happen? Is the big thing. So, I mean, Jordan Davis is the poster boy of those. Everybody wants to find him a Vita Vea, but Jordan Davis isn't bad at his job by any metric. The Eagles aren't unsatisfied with how Jordan Davis has played. They're probably unsatisfied with his conditioning and other things at the point in time, but those are different conversations.
Well, I just want to pause you right there because that brings up another topic that was discussed in the Philly special, which I thought was really valid. EJ brought up, like, if Jordan loses a bunch of weight, right, and maybe his conditioning goes up, is he losing what makes him special, right? Because what made him?
Do you see that guy?
You said he's got weight to lose.
Do you see that guy? I mean, he could lose some weight. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think you can move that refrigerator.
Right. So I guess what he was saying is, like, if he were to lose 20 more pounds, right, is that taking away from what Jordan Davis is? Like, yeah, maybe
because his whole thing is being that
the run
clog
stopper,
in the middle, the run stopper,
right?
yeah.
And so when he said that, I was like, I understand that, and that's why, like, with this whole conversation, I think what Jordan Davis does is good, and it's important to the defense, and I won't argue with you guys on that. I think what it comes down to, and Quell kind of spoke to this, is valuation, right? We took him in the first round. Okay, we're realizing maybe he doesn't have the Vita Vea pass rush upside. So then what's his next contract going to be? And I think that's what the conversation really is going to be catered to, is just like, yeah, he can be a good run defender and all that type of stuff, but then you get a contract for that. You don't get the pass rusher contract. But sorry, Quell, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just that brought up that question of just like, and I'd like to know what you think. Like, if he loses like 20, 30 pounds, do you think that changes his impact as a player?
It'd be interesting. It's never really something that I thought I'd ever consider. I don't think so, because I think it's just based on his measurables in general, how he's built. I think even if he lost the weight, I don't want to say it wouldn't be noticeable. You'll see it. But
I mean, people said they already see it.
Right.
Like, everybody said his face, everything looks slimmer. That's what his teammates and stuff have been saying as well.
So in terms of the stature, things of that nature, I don't think that. Now, I do think it'll be an interesting conversation. And like you guys said, you're supposed to be the big clog in the middle, and you look at him compared to some of these other guys. I don't think it necessarily has to be 20 pounds or so. If he can knock off another 10, 12 pounds, just enough to be able to move laterally, you take explosiveness, keep that explosiveness that he already has, is my big thing.
Like, the thing with Jordan is, I don't even necessarily think it's the weight itself. I think it plays a part in it, but it's more so conditioning. Him being able to play more snaps.
That's exactly what I was thinking as well, right? Like,
I guess, and it kind of leads to my second question. It tends to ability to play more snaps, but the Eagles really didn't play a lot of base last year. Do you think that was because it's more of a chicken and an egg conversation, because the correlations between lack of snaps between Jordan Davis and increase of snaps and Cooper DeJean, there is no secret. Like, Cooper, it's hard to keep Cooper.
So I actually want to speak to that, because that was actually one of the takeaways I had from the Fangio presser that I didn't speak to yet, is that he said he preferred the nickel looks, because he was talking about, it was about Cooper when he was talking about this, but he said that he preferred the nickel looks because it's easier on the defensive ends. It lets them play nickel end instead of outside backer, and that's a big difference. And so when I heard that, I was like, that makes sense. And that's why we lived in there was only 20% of base that we played, or something like that. Something
like
15, something super insignificant when you think about the whole scheme of the season. So I think I personally think we end up playing still ton of nickel. I don't think we play a lot of base. And I wanted to get into that, a little bit later in terms of OTA takeaways where we'd see Cooper playing, but yeah, I don't think we see a lot of base. And so Pierre, I hear what you're saying in terms of like I think we see a big season from Jordan because I think he's in probably the best shape he's been in as an Eagle, but I question the opportunities he has now. Maybe if he can show more in terms of pass rush and agility and conditioning as well, then maybe we can see him getting some play in nickel as well, and they can just have more of a rotation at defensive tackle instead of having JD for certain plays and then having a rotation with the other tackles. But I don't know. I think it remains to be seen, but it's definitely good things that we're seeing. And to have Vic call out like the progress that he's made, like Vic is gonna have like his way. He's an old school coach, bro. Like they're always gonna tear you down a little bit and boost you up in the same sentence. That's just that's how they operate. And so I think you have to take it as it comes and see like, hey, Jordan's in better shape. He's ready for the season, and you can hope for the best. I don't think you're going to see him on the field a ton, but like we said, in the playoffs, if you see the flashes, that's what you want. And then you can maybe get a contract that speaks to that and be like, hey, like we want you to play a role here. You're not going to be the guy. We're not going to pay you all the money in the world. You might be able to get more money somewhere else, but hey, come be a part of this system. And I think that as we get into these next couple guys is just kind of going to be the truth. But I'll let you guys get back to the Vic press conference. Anything else you wanted to cover before we move on?
Yeah, you mentioned it early on, but Keely Ringo, he was asked what Keely needs to do to win the starting job, and his response was, he just needs reps, right? He just needs to, learn to play the game. And I thought it was interesting hearing Keely's response because he spoke later on that day, I think after practice, and he kind of talked about how, like, I guess because he came in the league so young, he was kind of able to learn, and not necessarily it being on the field, but kind of off the field and, understanding the game in terms of like from an IQ standpoint. And he talked about him, being under guys like Slay and James Bradbury and Devontae Maddox. And again, how much it helped him, not necessarily on the field, but just understanding the game from an IQ perspective. And I think, to that point, Vic talked about him, needing reps and needing to learn to play the game. We talk a lot about players or the game kind of slowing down for players, as they, go on in their careers and different things of that nature. But I think for Rango, because he's been in the league for about 2 to 3 years and, being around NFL coaches, being around NFL players in an NFL system and, him having gotten some work on the field before, I think it's a thing where it's like the game won't necessarily need to possibly slow down for him. Like it won't be too fast because he's gotten some live action reps. He's been on an NFL practice field, working in a system, and different things of that nature. So I think it's just, for him and him trying to, nail down his starting spot, it's going to come down to him, number one, kind of, playing fast, trusting his eyes, not overthinking, trusting the coaching that Fangio and Christian Parker have given him over the last year or two. And then, playing with confidence because, he has that background, like, again, he's been in an NFL system and things of that nature. So I thought that was just interesting to take away.
Yeah, man, I can see why that stands out to you. You guys know it's kind of on record at this point for years how I felt about Keely. Me and Keely have a bit of a love-hate relationship. It's kind of more towards the love side now. I've grown to love Keely a lot more. And I mean, it's because I've gotten the opportunity to see the investment, to see the growth, all of the things that you just kind of laid out, Pierre, having the opportunity for the game to slow down for him. And my big thing when I had the opportunity to scout Keely was has all the talent in the world, just physical, the measurables off the charts, the physical ability, skill set. It's all there. It's just the mental aspect of the game. And you needed the nuance. You needed a bit more nuance to your game, and you needed the reps to help you slow that down. He was a guy that I comped him to back then. Another Georgia cornerback, ironically, who. It was fun to also watch his development as he got into the league, at least early on, was Tyson Campbell, where you watch them and you watch the ball in the air during their time at Georgia, and it was like, man, buddy, you did every single thing right on this rep except locate but find the ball. Stop panicking, man.
That's why they moved him from receiver. That's why they moved him from receiver. There are just some guys where it's like clear. It's like, oh, that's why you don't play receiver. It's like, dude, you run like a 4.4. You're big as shit. You're athletic. Like, why are you not playing receiver?
You can't find the ball.
That's why you don't play receiver. That makes sense.
It's one of them things where you could see the panic And it was he showed flashes of some really good reps, and he continues to show flashes even into today's game. But just having the opportunity for the game to slow down for him is huge because it's an opportunity for all of these measurables. This ceiling that we often talk about with these players. We talk. I feel like what gets lost in this is how we mentioned landing spot, particularly at the quarterback position. I mean, we talked back in the day when I was growing up. The big thing was you draft a quarterback, let him sit, learn the game. Hopefully, got a guy in front of him, and hell, look no further than Patrick Mahomes, who was able to sit his first season behind Alex Smith, and the second season took the world by storm, basically allowed the game to slow down for you. But I don't think we allow the opportunity for players anymore. Even the guys that are drafted in some of these later rounds, these third, fourth round picks, we expect them to come in and be contributors. And I mean, when you see things like last year and the contributions the Eagles got from their rookies, it kind of, we talked about this earlier in the offseason, but it kind of makes things unrealistic on the next
Makes such unrealistic expectations. But it's crazy, dude. Yeah. I feel bad for these rookies.
Yeah.
Oh my God, bro. Like, I mean, because we can understand, like, hey, like that was an anomaly, but your average football fan, dude, like they're gonna be like, oh, why are these guys not developing as fast? You know?
And it's just kind of like you laid out a second ago, Pierre. Him coming in the league so young, him having an opportunity to just sit and learn, and all these things, like it matters to his development. Like we could sit here and we could be talking. It's the difference between talking about a guy who, I mean, he's a solid corner, but he bounces from team to team. Hey, Adoree Jackson, look no further than that. Or a guy who, I guess the difference between Adoree Jackson and Tark Woolen. And I mean, I know Tark Woolen has been in the doghouse over the last year or so during his time in Seattle, but just continued development, for lack of a better term, that you see from defensive backs as they can land in the perfect spot for them to continue to grow and just scheme and opportunity meet. It's a beautiful thing. So hopefully it works out for him. But I mean, the last thing before we move out of here is what stands out to me is I guess we found out our answer. It's not that Vic doesn't hate, because we asked this question all year long. Why does Vic hate Sidney Brown? Vic doesn't hate Sidney Brown, actually. He actually gave us really good comments on this, where, I mean, and it's never really something that I really thought about. But when you think about Vic and his history, hell, look at how he treated Cooper DeJean, who was a game changer to the defense, and how long he kept him off the field until he felt like he was ready. Sidney, at this time last year, Sidney wasn't on the field. Sidney didn't get on the field until about mid-October. So Sidney missed so many opportunities, and that's why the first thing he mentioned was Sidney didn't get any reps last year. All his stuff came in 2023, which was under a different regime, all this stuff. So Sidney's behind the eight ball, for lack of a better term. And we sit here and we think about something like when we get injuries at the safety position, or CJ will go out, or things of that nature. And it's like, well, why the hell won't they play Sidney Brown? Since Sidney's healthy, why won't they play him? And now just sitting here listening to him have the conversation about it, it all makes so much sense. And like you said, Pierre, about him, just him having the opportunity to get the reps. I feel like this, it kind of all turns into outline what Howie Roseman has screamed from the top of his lungs over the last 2 seasons, where we're going to have to get this production from these young players. We're going to have to be. Vic kind of said it best, where he said he went on a whole rant basically talking about the guys and how he feels like this year. It feels a lot like this year how he felt last year, and he went on to name 100 guys that either weren't here last year, prior year, or
stepped up the year.
Things of that nature. And how basically the guys in the second group of the people that he named will have to be more like the guys in the first group. Basically, you guys going to have to play heavy snaps, and you guys going to have to be productive in those snaps. And that speaks the volumes of guys like Keeley, speaks the volumes of guys like Sidney. We'll see Morrow or Jomo. It's just a boatload of opportunities across the team, honestly, for a bunch of young people to step up.
No, absolutely. I think that makes a lot of sense, Quell. With Sidney just kind of having had to sit out and then getting more reps. But it also just remains to be seen because they've been giving Nakobe a lot of snaps as well. So I think it's really open field.
I think internally, I think they want Nakobe to win the starting job.
Well, internally has two different sides, right? And you have to think about that now, right? There's the Fangio side, and then there's the Howie Roseman and GM and scout side.
I mean, I think on both sides they both want Nakobe to win. Like
I think
Nakobe, he's a much better fit schematically than Sydney is.
I think you could.
I don't know, man. It's just about
they both have
Sydney
polar opposite strengths and weaknesses, right? Because Sidney Brown is better at run defense, and Andrew Nakobe is better at pass defense. Andrew Nakobe is not a great run defender, right? So if you're talking about base looks where you want to worry about run defense, then maybe you want Sidney Brown out there. But if you're talking about
that might be why they said they want to get Cooper looks at safety.
And that's and I wanted to get into that next about the OTAs. The big kind of news is that Cooper's been playing a lot of safety. And I mean, so I just want to speak to the Sidney Brown thing real quick. I'm just like, well, I think you make a great point. I think Vic is right on that, but Vic also is just like, yeah, he's gonna have to catch up, right?
Yeah.
So, like you said, behind the 8 ball, it sucks to hear, but sometimes that's how football is, man. There's new guys every year. You can be in college and you can be a sophomore, and a better freshman can come in. It's it's nothing you can do about it. All you can do is compete, and that's what they're gonna do. And EJ Smith said that safety is feeling very similar to linebacker last year.
And linebacker this year, and I mean,
right?
It'll kind of will have.
But I've also heard that I've also heard that a lot of the reps at linebacker have gone to Trot Jr.
Yeah, that's because ain't nobody else healthy right now. And
but,
I mean,
and the younger guys don't know the defense enough, right? Like Trot has it as a year in with the team with the defense, right? And Quell, I'll just put you on pause for a second. We'll get into that afterwards because that's basically the next conversation. But Trot's been getting a lot of reps, and I mean, good for him. I think once the other guys come back, he'll probably be a backup. But I mean,
these reps are going to matter.
The better depth you have,
come the season, these reps are going to matter.
Exactly. Especially when both guys are kind of injury prone. But moving back to the safety point that we were talking about, Fangio. We talked about last podcast about how Fangio was playing Cooper outside. At the other cornerback position, but he also talked about safety. And I mean, if I'm talking to you guys, man, I'd rather we play Coop at safety and play Keeley outside. I think that if you're in base and that's what you have to do, you want to get your best players out there. I think that gives you your best run defense possible. I think even Dory Jackson over everyone, you get those guys out there, you have people who are willing to stop the run.
I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here, but we know Vic Fangio. We know the types of players that he likes. He likes the tall, physical, specimen types of players, right? And, you want to line up and stop the run? You telling me we get a defense with Keely Ringo, Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, Zach Blunt, like that you want to stop the run. Those are the guys who are going to stop the run, man.
Right. What are you thinking, Quell?
I'm trying to pull up my Keely Ringo scouting report to see, because I mean we don't see enough Keely nowadays modernly for me to comment how good he is in terms of run defense and things of that nature. I mean, everybody looks good when you're not Darius Slay. Sorry, Slay, you just didn't like
physically speaking.
Yeah, physically, yeah. In terms of measurables, he should. It sound good. This is what you'll put out there if you're playing Madden, but at the same time of this speaking, it kind of goes into what Vic said in this press conference. Ideally, you right, Parth. We put Coop at safety, and we put Keely out there at cornerback, and we got all our big guys out there. We play physical, we can cover, we good. At the same time of that, like Vic said, all of this comes down to how the guys around Coop develop. It's not really Coop. I think they feel, and it kind of goes out to, like you said, I believe it was in the chat, where hats off to Cooper DeJean, man. He's, first of all, you're a damn good, smart football player for you to be out there getting taught 3 different positions. And
lunch bell type of guy.
Just being successful. But I mean, when you look at his history, he's been like that since high school. It's no surprise. But just the guys around Cooper have to succeed, whether it's a Dory Jackson or Keely Ringo. Somebody has to be good outside for them to feel comfortable moving Coop to safety in 100%. The first place. Or hell, even if they didn't feel comfortable moving Coop to safety, if they're not really getting good production, or if they don't feel like neither Sidney Brown, Makuba,
Exactly.
or McCullough, if none of those guys are ready, and they got to play base, Coop is going to play that position. And it kind of reminds me of a quote that Vic said last year, right before the season started, where he was asked about Quinyon and all the work that Quinyon did throughout the offseason and nickel and all this stuff, and how it could basically work out for him. He told the truth, like, look, that stuff was cool and all, but I don't think we're going to have the bodies for us to be doing all that with him. And it kind of comes down to a similar thing with Coop. It's cool and all, theoretically, all the things that we could do with him, but if we're not getting production from some of these other places, it kind of limits what we're going to do.
So honestly, I think that's why it's the opposite of what he said, right? Where it's just like, we need to put Coop wherever we need to put him, right? It's like wherever we can't spare like someone sucking, like we're putting Coop there. And that's what makes him so amazing, is the fact that they're cross-training him at safety and at corner. And it's like, hey, we come in a training camp, whichever position group sucks more, like we're gonna put Cooper there in base, bro. Like
exactly.
And that's crazy, bro. Like the NFL, we're talking about like two very different positions, bro. Like,
but what happens if both positions suck?
Which one sucks?
Whichever one sucks the less.
Like, what sucks more? We're putting Cooper there, bro. Like, but I mean, it's remarkable because it's literally a whole transition for people in their careers, right? They're talking about Jalen Ramsey. He had that corner safety versatility coming out of college. And now they're talking about, it would be a good career change for Jalen Ramsey to move over to safety now. And we're literally cross-training Cooper there. And now that's not to say that he can play the whole season there, because that's a ton on your plate. But, I mean, it just speaks to his ability.
Cooper, Charles Woodson, the gene.
Right. Literally, bro. Like,
is it a stress?
I don't want to talk crazy, but let me talk a little crazy right here.
No, is it a stretch to say that Cooper is the most important player on the defense?
Yeah.
Besides Jalen Carter?
Well, I guess when you mentioned Jalen Carter, but even beyond Jalen Carter, I think we'd be able to survive a game without Jalen Carter.
I agree.
I don't think we can survive a game without.
As soon as he became a part of the defense, he became literally like an integral part of the defense. And like, I hate these conversations because it's like, how are you supposed to operate without the other? But like, we're talking in a vacuum, dude. Like, we're just talking about Cooper DeJean playing 3 freaking positions, dude. Like, yeah, like that's damn important. Like, we talk about Zach Bond playing 2 positions with edge rusher, or Jihaad Campbell playing 2 positions with edge rusher and linebacker. Cooper's talking about playing 3, bro. Like, it's important. So, anyways, we're running low on time, and I want to make sure we get to the rest of the topics. We talked a little bit about OTAs. We talked about the safeties. Let's get into the linebacker conversation. So we talked, Pierre, I keep coming back to your comment at the beginning about Fangio being super honest and other coaches not being as honest. And he gave us honest feedback on what's going on with Nakobe and Jihaad. And so we were pretty positive last podcast about, Nakobe doing ballet and all these types of things to help the recovery process, but unfortunately it seems like he's a little bit farther in the process than we might have thought, or people wanted to think, and that's okay. I mean, it was a pretty brutal knee injury late in the season, and that's to be expected. So he said that he doesn't expect to see Nakobe for a while, and when it came to the Jihaad conversation, it's twofold, right? The first part is that he's not going to be playing until August, most likely doing contact drills. But the second part is that he's going to be starting at inside linebacker. He spoke to that a little bit in his press conference after the draft. But he spoke about how Jihaad's going to be focusing on inside linebacker. There's a lot more to learn there. And then he can move down to learning stuff at edge rusher. And I also wanted to just speak to, I was talking about how you can tell when Vic has his favorites. Multiple reports about through practice, man, like, I wish I was this good where you get this type of attention, bro.
Just
Vic Fangio, defensive coordinator, one-on-one sessions with the first round draft pick running through. And so I forget who reported it. I think it was Zach Berman.
Vic did it himself. Vic said himself during the press.
Oh, no. I know that he was running him through drills, but I wanted to speak to the drills themselves. I think it was Zach Berman who said, like, it was all just like movement drills, linebacker wise, like, where you're dropping, all those types of things you don't need your shoulder for, right? Jihaad is recovering from a labrum tear, a labrum surgery. So just running him through the different type of zone drops that he has to do, whatever, fitting the run, whatever it might look like. But solo sessions with the DC, like, dude, for people who haven't played football, man, like, or sports in general, to get the head coach's attention one-on-one, you either got to suck and be really bad and be like bringing everybody down, or you got to be like good, where they're like, oh, this guy is special and he can take us to like the next level. So,
and that's my thing. That's my thing on the whole Jihaad versus Nakobe thing, right? Like, they drafted Jihaad for a reason, right? Fangio's whole thing, and I've been championing this since he came to Philly, but his whole thing is simplicity with the illusion of complexity, right? That's on a pre to post snap basis.
The multiplicity of it
Campbell,
all. Line, baby. Let's go. Let's
talking
go.
my language, brother.
Speak a little Andrew Van Ginkel for us, bro. Speak a little Andrew Van Ginkel for us.
Well, no, I think Campbell, he fits that MO just better than Nakobe does, just because of everything that he offers in terms of his versatility.
I'm nodding with you, and then you had to make it a comparison. Why can't you just say he's good, bro?
No, he is, but I'm just like, we gotta have uncomfortable conversations.
So
we gotta have uncomfortable conversations.
No, you don't.
Yeah,
we don't. I disagree.
We will at some point, and that's my big thing with the conversation. Like we mentioned, that safety, like how you guys said, I think internally they want Nakobe to win. I don't think they give a damn who wins. I think they sitting there and they saying, we're gonna stack up this foot. It's kind of like you said, Parth. This is like a college football team at this point. We're gonna load up on talent at every single position, especially ones that we consider ones that need. Think about cornerback until we finally struck gold. How he was digging on Eli Ricks and Jacoby, Josh Jobe, and just basically throwing shit at the wall at any metric to find a cornerback or to build a competent cornerback room. And now you look at what they do in that safety and look at what they do in that linebacker. Hell, like there are a lot of guys in that room. We having conversations about Jihaad and Nakobe. And like I said a minute ago, I think Jeremiah Trotter is going to take a boatload of the snaps for this team this year. And hopefully I expect them to play really good football. But that kind of goes into the metric. Like if you ask me what the linebacker position looks like, maybe if in 4 years, 3 or 4 years, it will be Bond and Campbell in a perfect world, especially based on contract situations and things of that nature. But I don't think that's going to be the situation today or tomorrow. Definitely not tomorrow, because look at the plethora of talent that they have there. They basically have their Nakobe's in Trot and Nakobe. They have their coverage guys in Bond, who Bond shouldn't even count for this because Bond is like the ace in the hole. So we need him to do all these other things. And yeah, we should and could get there with Campbell. But right now, I just need him to continue to thrive at the things he's good at, which is being a really good coverage linebacker. And you also look right behind him in Smell Bonding, who thrives at being a very good, like they have a bunch of guys who can play. If they wanted to play dime, if they wanted to play nickel, it doesn't matter what they are, multiple as hell in terms of what they can do defensively. And I think that's kind of the goal of what they're trying to build. Like I said, maybe if we're talking about these conversations 3 or 4 years down the line, I see what you're saying, Pierre. I don't think that's the thought process.
We're looking at it. I think that's what we're looking at it differently. Like I'm looking at it like after this year.
But see that's where I disagree, because even though Pierre wants to be Andy throwing Woody over his shoulder, I don't want to play with you anymore. To Nakobe, no, but like seriously. As much as we can talk about Jordan Davis, about cohabitation matrix, and being a locker room guy, Nakobe Dean is just as important in that. And second, I just think that if they want to be able to have the multiplicity of it all, let me speak your language, Pierre. Let me speak a little Pierre to you real quick. If they want to have the multiplicity of it all, but in all seriousness, like then you want to have Nakobe there, because then you have a guy who can play pure linebacker. You put Nakobe back in that green dot. And you have Campbell and Zach Bond doing anything you want, bro. You can actually make them Swiss Army knives, right? Like you can actually have them coming off the edge way more. And this was something that came up on the Philly special, dude. There are a ton of edge snaps to be taken, right? Like even if they did the calculations, even if Jalix Hunt and Nolan Smith play 600 snaps, right? And like that, and I think Jalen Carter played around 600, maybe it's 600 or 900. I think it's 600, 650 or something like that. But that's a ton of snaps, right? Basically meaning they play a ton of snaps. There's still 200 to 300 snaps unaccounted for. So I think that's where you want to be able to rotate in those guys, and that's where it helps. I'm about to get off and let my dog in because he's attacking the door handle right now. But point being, like, I think that's where you want to be able to have a guy who you can have be like, hey, you be our green dot, you be the linebacker every play if he comes back healthy, right? There's a lot of ifs here, but you have a guy who's pure linebacker there, and then you can kind of rotate in, move everybody around a little bit more. I think that gives you a lot more flexibility. Now, a lot of this is hypothetical, and Nakobe is my guy since
has to be healthy
since the draft. He has to be,
and that's my main thing. That's why
we can't act like Health and Campbell are a sure thing either.
Yeah,
that's why he dropped down boards, right? Like that. That's what came out is that people worry about the shoulders. So Eagles have been pretty good about keeping guys healthy, and I mean you have Smile Mondon too, right? Who similar built to Nakobe, a little bit different in terms of strength. Big Smile Mondon guy. I know you are, and that's why you want to throw Nakobe away. All right, but some of us are not done yet. All right, because like there's still
So wait. I'm not gonna sit up here and say I think Nakobe is a bad player or nothing like that. It's
I just don't want to play with you anymore.
My thing is, I don't know. I think they have, like we just talked about with Trotter. I think they have the pieces that can kind of do what he can do, and everything that we know about Howie Roseman and resource allocation. I don't know that he allocate.
So why do you think Jordan Davis is going to be back?
Well,
because he's more important.
No, he's not. He plays 20% of the snaps.
I mean, in terms of
you can find those snaps other places.
Remember what we're talking about? He's more important. That's a damn good conversation in itself, right there. Especially given how Vic wants to play defense.
Right. It's old Howie versus new Howie. What's he going to decide on? I
mean, don't get me wrong. Jordan Davis is important to this scheme 100%, and its success. 100%. But based on how they played defense last year, if they're going to continue to play defense like that,
if Vic wants to play more nickel because he gets to let the ends play nickel end instead of having to play outside linebacker, then why are you paying Jordan Davis other than to be the locker room guy and to play the snaps that you want him to play? Right? Like that's what the conversation becomes. Because like we know what Jordan Davis can be, right? Like we all know the tantalizing potential of his size and speed combination, but we're 4 years into his career. He's never turned into that. So we can keep betting on that, or we can take him as he is and be like, hey, we're going to use you for these snaps and you're important in the locker room. I think that's the exact same conversation that you have with Nakobe, but it's the Vic Fangio side versus the Howie Roseman side. So, with the GM versus defensive coordinator, you don't know, but Big Zin has a lot of power. But that point being, I think they're both very similar players in that way because they're both just like
it's like one of is dependent. Yeah, one of is specifically on the field. One is dependent on the other, right? Like we talk about a lot of the times how Jordan's whole role is, play in the middle.
But even to that point, Pierre, I have to push back because Jordan only played 20% of the snaps. Nakobe played more snaps than Jordan, and he found success without Jordan on the field. So it's not like they're just hand in hand. Jordan is good when he's on the field. It's a matter of staying on the field for a different reason, right? They're just both not able to stay on the field. It's just different reasons, but they're both just invaluable to the locker room. Like they're important to that group. So next year there's going to be some interesting conversations, and it's so funny that it stems from like the biggest argument we've had on the pod, Quell. Like these conversations are going to keep going. We're going to have these free agency conversations next year as well. It's crazy.
I mean, it's all dependent on what Vic decides to do, how he decides to.
We'll know because Vic is not shy about letting you know how he feels about someone from how they play, and that's why like Shields' point about like, hey, you said like he plays a lot was valid, but like I said, I pushed back in saying like, hey, he didn't play a lot, but he flashed. But when it comes to contract talks, flashes only go so far. So
yeah.
A lot of interesting stuff, dude. And
you don't get paid for what you've done. You get paid for what you will do.
It's a what have you done for me lately league. Am I right, Quell? That's a Quellism. That's a Quellism right there for you. But I think we covered the points. I mean, is there anything you guys wanted to get in there or?
I think we Yeah, I think we hit on everything. We got
All right.
Keely, Cooper, Jihaad, safety conversation, JD. Yeah. Oh, wait. Also, one other thing we didn't touch on. The offensive line play. Tyler Steen seems to
See,
have
oh
a
yeah, how do we not talk
stronghold.
on that? Yeah,
on
I'm
dude.
right
not
now.
trying to hear none of this. It was the same situation last year.
Brother, there's been no rotation at all.
I thought they got Makai in there pretty early in OTAs.
I mean, Makai, not early. It started off, and as the closer we got to camp and things of that nature, then Makai started getting more. I guess they wanted to get him comfortable at guard first before they started doing the rotation.
You mean
But
tackle?
even then, because he played tackle initially, and
Yeah, you said they wanted to get him at.
They wanted to get him comfortable at guard before they started the rotations with Bector.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But you're right, Pierre. There have been no rotations, but I've just heard it's been the same story for him for over a year now. It's his job to lose, and somebody impresses. I'm not gonna
down in terms of the pecking order.
Yeah, and
he's twos, and last week he was. This week he was with the threes.
Yeah, and he's only playing on the left side.
Yeah,
is what somebody noticed. So yeah, I mean, dude, his job to lose, and I mean, it's not like he's a bad player, So it's not a bad place to be in. And yeah, and listen, as we've said many times on this podcast, in Stout we trust.
It wasn't necessarily with the threes. It was a rotation from what I've seen. First team was Matt Lauder, Dickerson, Toad, Steen, and Lane. Second team was Lamb, a rotation of Keegan and Green at left guard, Kendall, Pryor, and Kennard. So,
can I be honest?
It's not looking bright for him. At the same time, I'm not gonna lie to you. Just a stock up for me and my Trevor Keegan thing that I've been trying to push for over a year now. So,
but can I be honest? I don't give a damn about the OTA O-line, bro.
Yeah.
Like Stout is a mad genius, bro, and he's just gonna do some shit in camp where it's gonna be like, oh, that works. This is really cool, and we're gonna have like another dominant offensive line. Like, dude, I can't emphasize enough. Like, it's just like in Stout we trust, dude. Anything that man does, he can do no wrong, bro. Like
the only player he wasn't able to work his magic with was Jamal Brown.
I don't think he tried. I think he quit mid-game, just like Jamon did.
That was such a bad year, dude. He had to just not been in the building, bro. He was like, Jason, you take over, bro. You got it, bro. And Jamon Brown, I'll never forget, bro. Mid-play, fixing your gloves. That was just it was legendary stuff. That was a Chance Warmack year, too, if I remember correctly, right?
Oh, bro, I was so hyped about Chance Warmack.
That's a Madden legend. I used to edit him on Madden every year.
Everybody was excited about him, I mean, I didn't play as much, I didn't play as much Ultimate Team. I'm like, Chance Warmack. And I'm doing some reading. I'm like, this guy sucks. Why is everybody so excited? And everybody's like, yo, Chance Warmack, bro. We got
former first round pick, man. Former first round pick.
Hey.
Listen, when you got that tag to your name.
I was a Josh Jobe guy. All right. Undrafted free agent, but Bama guy.
Hey,
right?
Q. I think I sent you the real. I don't remember if I sent it in the chat, but it was when a player is turbo booty juice when he has the former first round pick.
That's pretty accurate though. As soon as they say former first round pick, you're like, so he sucks.
He stinks.
Why is he? I think Quell was the person who told me that. And I was like, we were having some conversation on P's and Q's, and he's like, yeah, but when you see a guy who says former first round pick, why is he not on his team anymore? And I was like,
they made that John right there. That made Tavon Austin famous. Former first round pick. Take that between him and Sammy Watkins. Cap a job.
Sammy Watkins got some mileage out of that. Sammy Watkins got mileage, boy. But hey, you know what? At the end of the day, I think he had a 10-year career. And at the end of the day, hats off for that, bro. And he got the bag, son.
And the modern day, the one that's taking it the furthest right now. Shout out to getting your bag. Tip the cap to Jalen Reagor, man.
Bro's been in the league 5 years, bro. It's been 5 years. He's at the end of his rookie contract, essentially.
Getting these checks. Stay on the team. I'm looking at Chargers fans why is this guy on my team, man? I'm like,
you got Quentin Johnson, bro. You're not doing much better. Relax. Beggars can't be choosers, brother. I don't know what to tell you. Y'all got the coldest white boy in the league right now, though. So
Hey, easy.
who's
That's
better?
Drake me. That's Drake me.
A receiver white boy, bro. It's clearly different. Oh, I'm not talking about Mr. What If, bro. Come on. I'm talking about Lad McConkey, bro. The craziest name at receiver in the league, bro. And
You want to talk about cold white boys? You know what name just popped into my head? What's the dude? Ryan Swizzler? Swizzler?
Oh, some Swizzler. Some
that was a cold white boy, man.
Some UNC talk, right? Right? I'm almost certain. Like
he went to UNC. Yeah,
the punt returner guy, right?
Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's some spicy.
Cowboys fans was excited when they got him.
He was a Steelers guy. Yeah. Oh, okay, Pierre. That was a good cut.
Deep pull.
They was pulling up. Elite. I'm like, he been in the league for like 3 years, bro. But they still showing me highlights from UNC. Like, look at what we got. Look at what we got.
That was elite. That was elite. That was a hell of a pull. I think that's a good place to sign off, man. Pierre's got to go pick up his sister. Ryan Swizzler has been brought up. Like, what else do you want out of a podcast?
On a roster?
Is he on a roster still? No way.
He plays for the Panthers.
That makes sense. Yeah, where receivers go to die. No, that's the Ravens. Oh, what were we talking about? Where people who goes to die where? What was it? We were talking about earlier in the pod, weren't we?
Commanders.
It's the Ravens now. The who did they show? Who they signed? D-Hop, right?
Mm-hmm. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, they were like they can show anybody in a Ravens jersey and it'll look like they're washed. So, I think it must be a DMV thing, Quell. I don't know what to tell you, bro.
Baltimore's not part of the DMV.
I get, yeah, it's close enough. All right, it's right there, bro. It's like it's on my way down. All right, I classify all of it as the same. I guess it'd be the same as saying like New York and Philadelphia. So I understand Trenton. So I'd be Trenton and Philadelphia. Fair. I don't like Trenton. Too much of a
all right.
Stop.
Like Parth says, it's a good place to end it. On whichever podcast streaming. Yeah, we're gonna release this as a pod afterwards. So on whichever podcast streaming platform you're listening on, be sure to leave us a like and a review, rate us 5 stars. Shout out to 14th and Market Network. This has been a fire episode. It's good. Again, it's a good place to end it. Fire. Go Birds, everybody. Fire.
Go Birds.
Go Birds.
Go Birds.